So what we got going on here is this is my toolbox from work. I brought it home over the Christmas break holiday. I have 2 weeks off, so I wanted to bring it home and do some work to it, do some modifications to it, make the box a little bit more faster for what I'm doing at work. I'm in a machine shop where it's 25,000 square feet full of machinery, and I'm the only machinist there. And I did say that number correctly, 25,000 square foot shop. But I'm the only machinist there. I have two welders, but being the only machinist, I have to move pretty fast and kind of be on my toes and have to, you know, get the jobs done kind of quick. So it pays for me to be organized and to have everything, done just right to speed up the process. So as I got done with this box, I just wanted to do a quick little video and show you guys some of the modifications I made to the box and do a quick little box tour. And let's start off with, first of all, on the top, I did the mag rails up here. These are basically just my everyday tools, things that I touch all the time. And it's up here, it's kind of like a quick place to grab the main tools that I'm using daily. These right here are Crescent, and these are made by the Crescent company. And these right here are some awesome wrenches. It has the socket attached to the back, and you also have your Crescent wrench at the top. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a tool that, if you use a lot of sockets or trying to do a lot of bolts and stuff, this is an awesome tool to have around. Also, I went ahead and got the Crescent one for, I think I got both of these on Amazon for probably, I think it was like $30, I think, for both of them. But this is also made by the Crescent company, and this one right here probably spends more time in my back pocket than it actually does up here on the railing. Just some cobalt pliers and grips and whatnot, and some old wrenches that I use pretty much on a regular basis. These are one of these wrenches that are old and beat up, but it just feels so great in my hand that I just can't seem to really part with it. I don't really use a lot of breaking off bolts and stuff like that, so I don't really need like a ratcheted one because I don't use it that often. But and if I do, I just use use those if I do. Starting down here on the surface right here, I know a lot of guys keep like sockets and things like that on the top of their box. And for me, I don't really use a lot of sockets. I'm a machinist. Sometimes I'm breaking bolts or maybe putting clamps or something like that. What was more important for me was to have a work area. So what I went ahead and did was I put plexiglass down in my box, and I've been using this for years inside my box. I've been using this stuff now in my box for probably 10 years now or more. And what that does is if you have like oily nuts or bolts or taps, for me it's taps and drills that are, or whatnot, I can always sit them down in here. You just take a sharp rag, wipe it up, and it's good as anything else. Also, just to having a nice area that's a work area that's designated. Being in a shop that big, a lot of the time, I'm around different machinery and I don't always have a work table with me. And maybe I get a part that comes in, maybe a water pump or something that's broke. I need to break it down and separate my parts out and machine or weld, whatever I need to get done. It's nice to have an area where I can tear things down and I don't have to worry about screws and bolts falling off on the floor or falling off the table or rolling off the edge. Everything is contained within a good area. Up here is where I keep a lot of my drills and taps, and a lot of times when I'm working, if I have a process that I need to bang out, say like 12 or something, and I need to drill the holes and tap them and have a certain process, I lay my taps and my drills out, and it just makes me a little bit faster, where I'm not having to like dig and they're all bunched up, and I kind of have an order, and it just makes it a little bit faster to do a job. You got your calculator, a little Milwaukee tape measure. This area right here is going to be basically like where I throw my calipers and my micrometers, and it's kind of like a cushion foam pad. And before that, I was kind of throwing them in a box, and I didn't really like that. My calipers and my micrometers, I don't really like to just, throw them down. I like to take care of them. So having a cushion pad right here really works out great. And most of the time, well, actually every day, this and my 6-inch scale and my pins, they stay on me. As soon as I walk in the door, that stuff goes on me, and it just makes me a little faster when I don't have to run around the shop looking for, my tape measure or scale. I have all that stuff on me. With that being said, over here I keep my, what is that, a 25 footer. That's for big stuff when we get big stock in off the truck, and maybe I need to measure a big long piece for whatever reason. Down here is where I just keep the little picks, little Harbor Freight picks. Everybody's seen those. Let's see here. Oh, indicator. Keep that up top there. I use that pretty often. Over here on the side of the cart, let me try to wheel that around so we get some better lighting, because I'm actually at the house. I'll actually come over here on this side first. Now on this side, I keep the little files that I use, and I just put a little magnet, just a little piece of Delrin, and I just put a magnet on the back of it, and that way if I ever need it, I can just take it on and off, look at the file, hold them up, see what kind of files I have and whatever I need to pick out. Down here on the side of the cart is where I keep my die grinders and my files. Now, one of the things I did was I got my welders at the shop to make these little hooks for me. And I'll take one of them out so you guys can see it. And it's very easy to do. If you have a little welder at the house or something like that, you can do it on your own. But you pull one out. There we go. Put it in the light. So what they did was they made me some little hooks, and they just, a piece of scrap they had, they bent it for me, and it just drops down the hole. And that way you can hang your die grinders or things like that off into your box. So I really like that a lot. That's been really handy. I'll probably end up getting to make me a few more of them. Down here, keep my files. All my files are out here on the side. I'm always grabbing them all the time in the machine shop, so I don't really need to have them in a drawer. I need to have them where I can reach them. A little bit of WD-40 down there. Right here on the side is actually my cup holder, and that's where I keep my Yeti cup at, and it works out great. Let's see if I can find it. And that works out great. Before that, I was having my cup sit down on the bottom of my box when I was pushing my box, and my box would, rock and shake, and cups sometimes fall over. Now I got it in here, and that's why I keep it. And basically the way I did it was I took out the bolts on the side, and I put in I believe it was a 5/16. Yeah, 5/16 flathead, I believe it was, down in there, and worked out great. Oh, over here on the side is a little case. I just keep a lot of extra little pads and things like that for my die grinders. All right, so in this drawer right here is where I keep all my measuring tools at. This is kind of like my measuring drawer. On my square, I always keep my square on this one. That's the tool that I use the most when it comes to my combination square. So I just keep it always set up. No need to take it down. If I need to change it out, I will. Micrometers, fishtails, level box right there. This is one of those tools that if you don't have one and you do a lot of measuring or taking angles, this is a tool that you really need to invest in. They're very cheap now. They used to be very expensive back in the day when they first came out. But now you can get them for about $12, maybe a really good one for about 20. But this is really good, and it's also magnetic. So, that's awesome. Edge finder. This one right here, this edge finder, for the longest time I was using the standard edge finders that kick off. Probably about a year ago I started using the electronic edge finder, and that for me has been a game changer when you're trying to get down to little small areas and you don't have enough room for your edge finder to kick off. That right there is awesome. That's an awesome tool. We'll switch over to another drawer. Now in this drawer right here, this is basically like a what I call like my setup drawer. It's helped me to, if I need to, say, some clamps to clamp down something, or some shims to put underneath say like a roller or something like that, or maybe I got a surface that I need to turn and I can't mess up the finish on the work. This is something I'll put between the jaws to, put between my 4 jaws or whatever to not scar up the work. Over here I keep pieces of sandpaper. A lot of times I get big giant rollers that come in the shop, and I'm trying, I've got to use a steady rest or something like that on them. Sometimes the rollers want to walk out, and you don't want to tighten down too much because you don't want to collapse the roller. So something like that helps the roller from walking out of the jaws when you can't tighten down on something too much. 1, 2, 3 blocks are down over here. These are precision blocks that I use to, if I don't want to drill directly, down into something, trying to prevent from drilling into the table when I'm milling, I'll use something like that so I don't drill into my 1, 2, 3 blocks. These are some clamps right here that I made. I put these on my 4 jaws. And what this does is, say I have a job that I have to switch out like 2 or 3 pieces, and I don't want to mar up the part, or I don't want the part to be damaged by the jaws. I'll put these on there, tighten it down with my little set screw. They stay in place, and when I open and close my jaws, none of them fall off. They all stay in place, and it just makes me a little bit faster on the job when I don't have to keep adjusting, my shims or whatever underneath my 4 jaws. You put them on once, they stay in place. These are also some jaws that my buddy made before he left the shop. He made a set, and these are magnetic, and I use a lot of these for when I'm doing like aluminum parts. If I need some spacers, or if I need to, again, to protect my jaws when I'm turning something, I'll use these, and I just stick them to each jaw, and they'll stay in place. And then, each one of these little setups that I have, I use them just depending on what job I'm doing and just what works best. And it's nice to have a drawer where you don't have to chase stuff down in the shop. There's nothing worse than have to chase stuff down over and over again. You're just wasting time, and you're wasting your employer's time. I like to have all that stuff on hand for anything that I'm going to run into. I got metal shims back here. Over here in this drawer is basically banding strip, and basically what comes off a truck when they strap metal down, and you just fold them up and make little springs out of them, and put them between my parallels. If I'm doing, like, say, a job where it requires me to open and close my jaws and switch out jobs over and over again, I don't want parallels to keep falling down and dirt getting behind them. I can just blow it out, my parallels stay in place, drop the next part in, and keep it moving. Oh, this right here is just a little simple table stop that I made for my mill. Whenever I'm doing mill work, if I need to clamp something directly to the table, just basically just like a little bolt, and so that's pretty cool. And same thing over here. These are blocks of Darwin. They're all the exact same thickness, and I use these for when I'm doing stuff like maybe like plexiglass or something like that. When I'm turning plexiglass, I'll use something like this. And yes, you can turn plexiglass. All right, so in this drawer right here, we're going to start over here on this side. These are the sockets that go to the crescent wrench that I was showing you guys earlier. Now, I'm trying to get some good lighting on that. What I like about these particular sockets is you have your metric and your standard all in one. And I really like that. If you're a mechanic or somebody like that, that would not cut it for you at all. But for somebody who doesn't need a whole bunch of metric, and I'm not really, turning a lot of bolts every day, that's a really good set for somebody like me. Over here is a little drawer that's made out of Darwin. That was back when I was first starting to do a little bit of programming, and I was just trying to learn how to do like pocket command codes for pockets and drilling and whatnot. And I just ended up saving a little block that I made and used it to store stuff in. So like down in here, is where you're gonna find your center drills and there's little picks and stuff that I made, sockets, things like that. Over here is where I got the box cutter, have a thread file, and that's one of those tools that you don't use often, but it's very nice to have when you need it. Got my box cutter, Allen wrenches, tap handles, got your 12-inch calipers. Also keep a loose scale in the back, 12-inch scale. It's nice to have a quick, long scale. Sometimes a tape measure sometimes it's a tape measure just not what you need, really. Over here is little parts that I've made that I use quite often. This is a little machinist jack that I made about 2 years ago. And what I like about it is it's magnetic. So when I put it down the table, it stays where I put it. And that's been very handy. Oh, my little Cobalt set right here. This little set right here is very handy. If you can pick one of these up and get it for a good price, I highly recommend it. This right here is an awesome little set. So handy. Can't tell you how many times I've used this set. Down here, just some cheap little punches. This right here, I actually made this for when I'm doing lathe work and I'm have to do some really big taps. The little ones just don't work. So I end up making a really big one with a very strong spring inside of it. So it helps me get started when I'm doing real big taps. And I love this tool right here. This is one of my favorite tools that I've made. All right, let's go to the next drawer. Now, down in this drawer right here, we'll start over here on this side. The way I set it up was a lot of this big stuff is kind of heavy toolage. It's kind of tools that, you pick up, you throw down, you don't really need to lay it out. But down here, just basically, I got a giant ratchet right here that I use for the giant bridge port whenever I have to move the head on it. Cobalt channel locks. These things right here are awesome. See what else I got down in there. Oh, yeah, down in the back is a little protective tube, and just where I keep some little carbide. Basically, just keep like carbide tools in there. So whenever I have to, say, get a broken bolt or something like that out, a customer comes in, I have that stuff on hand. I don't have to go chase it down. Parallels. Down in this little box right here is where I'm keeping all of my sandpaper and Brillo pads and things like that. Before I had that little box, I literally just had this stuff kind of like in the corner in the back of my box. And you know how it is when you use like sandpaper or these Scotch-Brite pads. It starts to get like the metal shavings on it, and they start to come off and fall inside your box. And I just really didn't like that. It was time to really put a box there. Keep some end mills on hand. It's just a small little amount of end mills. Basically, that's for kind of like whenever I'm in the shop, and if I'm in the back of the shop and I want to walk all the way up to the front to grab an end mill. If I'm just doing something kind of basic, trying to clean something up, it's nice to keep a few end mills on hand. Also, down here in this little corner is where I keep an assortment of little pieces of stock. So you never know, we need a piece of an exact square, something that's perfectly squared, or pieces of shim or anything like that. It's just nice to always have a little pieces of scrap metal. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the shop and been in the back of the shop, and I don't want to walk all the way to the front to grab, or to look for a little piece of shim stock or something I may just need just to put somewhere or wedge in something. And that's been awesome to have. A matter of fact, like this little ball right here, I had something I had to press out, a bearing, and it was deep inside of a hole. And I needed something just long enough to get me in the bottom of that hole to press it out. And this was perfect. And I didn't have to go walk. I didn't have to go look. I didn't have to waste, go cut material. It was something I just kept on hand. And it just makes you a little bit faster. Now, down here in the bottom of my box, this is a old Craftsman box. This is what I started off with originally when I first got into the trade. And what I did down here was I put a magnet on the top drawer, so that way when I open this up, it stays. And up top, it doesn't have to open up all the way because all I keep up here are my papers. Just keep my paperwork. And if you are in a machine shop or any shop and you need to keep kind of paperwork, use these little protectors. And these are also from keeping dirty fingerprints off your paperwork. And I use that a lot for everything when I'm working. So I keep my stuff nice and clean and read my prints later. And down here, just where I keep a lot of my prints for whenever I got to program a job or whatever. That's where I keep everything. All my programs and stuff. Keep up with them. In the top drawer is where I keep brazed carbide tooling, some more stuff to my square, pens and markers. Over here this is what I use for when I need to sweep in a part. Now in my shop, my boss, he's a really good boss. He has a lot of tools everywhere, but sometimes depending on where I'm at, I don't want to walk all the way up there to grab a stair indicator. I just use my test indicator, put this up in the drill chuck, and adjust this to the diameter of the part that I'm trying to find the center of, and just sweep it in. And that's been awesome to have. And I actually compared this to the Starrett one in the shop, and it was dead nuts. Some hardened punches that were made. What's over here? Oh yeah, center. Made that one too. Made that center about a year ago. These right here are some aluminum jaws for a mill that I made for round parts, made into a triangle, so that way when I put these parts in there, I can get a good little, get it, dead center. I don't use them that often, but it's nice to have. It's one of those things that's really nice to keep in your box. Let's see here. This right here, I'm not going to waste time explaining to you what it is, but it's something that I made to find you have a part and you have to find 180 degrees of it and say drill or mill another feature or another keyway into the opposite side. Sometimes I'll run into a job where when I rotate something, I can't see the other feature that's down there, and I need to make sure that it's exactly 180 degrees apart. And by using this alignment pin and with this pin in the bottom, and they ringed out perfectly, that will help you achieve that. If anybody's ever interested in learning how that actually works, I will do a video on it. But it's very interesting. Let's see here. In this drawer right here, Machinist Handbook, magnifying glass. I keep my metric set down here because I don't use it that often. In the last, I would say 5 years, I probably used this 3 times. Probably not even 3 times. So it's not worth keeping it up top if I'm not using it that often. Rubber bands, ear protection. And old school machinists once told me, always keep a pair of junk Allen wrenches in your box. My day-to-day ones, I use a Cobalt, but he told me to keep a pair of junk ones in your box for whenever somebody needs to borrow a set, you can give them that one. That way if they break it or mess it up, you don't care. Sometimes you'll get a job. Sometimes I get jobs in the shop that have the red Loctite on it, and we need to break it loose with like a cutting torch or heat it up. And I don't want to bend up my gut set, so I'll use something like that. So I don't have to, if I break this or bend it up, I don't care. Back here is where I keep the extensions for the indicator. And I bought those probably about a month ago, and they've come in handy, especially when you're doing giant rollers. Down in this drawer here doesn't open up all the way, and but it's okay because down here is the things that I keep are like shop rags or gloves or face masks, stuff that this opening is more than capable of pulling it out. So that's not really a big deal. Like cut off wheels. I can easily get to these things. So that's not really that big of a deal. Also too, on this box, when I'm in the shop and I'm pushing my box around, I have to get to places pretty quickly. And in order to keep these drawers from flinging open, I put magnets on the back of them. So that way when I going down through the shop, they stay closed and they don't open up until you pull on them. So that worked out pretty good. Now over here on this side of the box, one of the main things that I did was I got a piece of angle iron and I bolted it into, I took out one of the main screws that was holding the box together on the frame, and I replaced it with a 5/16 socket head and drilled into the angle iron to line it up. And you can see it better over here on this side. So I just replaced that bottom screw with that one. And made a little frame, drilled out the holes, and put holes in it. And that became my hammer rack. Now, before this, I was using zip ties. So if for some reason maybe you don't have the machinery or the equipment to drill your holes out, or use a piece of angle iron in that fashion, one of the things you can do is use these big, thick, black zip ties. That's what I was using originally, and those work out great. I had those on there for years. That's what I had my hammers in, and just buy a pack of them for a few bucks on Amazon. Hang your hammers off of them. It's a quick, easy modification. It's something that doesn't damage or change your box at all, and it's just an extra place to get some extra storage. Down on the side is where I keep my battery pack. I thought about running a power cord to my box, but I move around in my shop so much. I really just needed a battery pack, and with this battery pack, I can more than get to more than charge up anything, a cell phone or a tablet or a computer or anything. So that's been awesome to have. Keep some painter's tape. That's really good for when you have to I have to sometimes mark a drill or something like that, or tape up a bag or something like that and write something on it. That's really good to have. Always keep a piece of roll of duct tape on you. Down the bottom, I got my indicator. Over here is my stand that I use for a table stop for my mill. And essentially, it was an old indicator stand. And what I did was I just machined a piece of stainless steel rod, so that way I don't have to worry about it rusting when coolant hits it. But that's a fairly strong magnet on the bottom of that, and it doesn't move. Been using it now for about a year and been getting really good results out of that. So if you have an old stand, that's something you can do with it. Before that, I was using one of the kind that you have to actually bolt down to the table. And I know those are good because you want to tighten it down, but that magnet is strong enough that if you're not, being overly aggressive, you should be all right. Brass hammer, I used that. I made this a couple years back. Use this for tapping on and off bearings and gears, and so it's nice to have a little hammer where I could tap off a gear or a bearing or something like that. This is another brass hammer that I made. I use that for heavier jobs when I need something that's brass that I don't want to damage the work. I'll use something like this. Over here is where I keep my, I guess I could call it a little grabber. I use that for when I'm trying to remove chips out of the pan or something like that. Let's see here. Oh, over on the back. What I got one of my welders to do for me at work was weld a hook onto the back of my box. And that's been one of the best modifications I made to my box. And that's allowed me to carry my bag to work. I keep, I throw my battery pack charger in there at night. Water bottle, or if I'm carrying some tools to work or bring some tools home, it's nice just to keep your hands free and just have a bag where you just kind of carry everything. And having a place to store it and hook it has been awesome. I would not suggest that modification to your box unless you know exactly what you're doing or you trust the person that's doing it. But yes, that's been an awesome modification. But there's one more thing I want to show you guys that I did to my box. And that was this up top. Try to spin that around so y'all can see it a little bit better. There you is a wrench. Now, I made a handle for my lid, and I made it out of an old rusted wrench, and I cleaned it up, and I think it turned out great. I got this idea off some website I seen on the internet, but the guy had drilled I think a bolt all the way through it and put a nut on it, I believe he did, and I didn't really want to do it that way, so I just took a carbide end mill and milled out a little pocket in there. Then I mic'd the pockets, and once I mic'd them with the gauges, then I just turned me a pin and made a press fit and just pressed them in there, and that worked out awesome. And I love that handle. That handle right there is awesome. And one thing I've noticed is when I have a handle, I found that I started to use the top of my box more as a surface to actually work on or to write on, once it became easier to actually open and close it. And but anyways, I hope y'all guys enjoyed this video.
Taken out, and I got two. Got to be taken out all this other stuff, and everybody making money from it, and it make you feel guilty. Oh boy, but there's all mad at it.